Thanks so much for clicking on this English lesson. There are so many good English teachers out there, and you chose me. In today's English lesson, we are going to talk about an American teacher who went to Russia about 3 years ago and was not able to leave. He was put in jail and he was just released this week. We will watch a news story together. In that news story, they will use some very difficult terms you might see on the IELTS or TOEFL exam. If you know the terms they use, you will be able to have better English conversations. And the reason he was put in jail was he had some medical marijuana. A doctor gave him permission to have marijuana to treat something that was bothering him. But guess what? That prescription is only good in the United States. He brought it to Russia where it's illegal. It seems like President Trump and President Putin had a conversation. Maybe this is the first conversation they have that will finally end the war in Ukraine. We shall see. And what can make this tricky is that there are some words we will talk about today that have multiple meanings, like free, sentence, touching down, a good phrasal verb to know, detained. We will talk about what an honor is. How about this verb, claimed? Also, this verb, disposing. We will talk about what a penal colony is and so much more. Let's watch the news clip together and then I will come back and teach you all of those difficult terms.
An American man held prisoner in Russia for years is now free. Marc Fogel had been serving a 14-year sentence after being arrested in Moscow on drug charges in 2021. He met with President Donald Trump at the White House about 30 minutes ago, shortly after touching down in the U.S.
The first one they use in the news clip that I thought might give you trouble is free. You might know free as in something you don't have to pay for. It can be described as free. Who doesn't like getting free things? But this is different. It means to release someone from confinement or imprisonment, maybe jail or prison. After years in detention, that is another way to say in jail or prison, Marc Fogel, that is the name of the teacher, was finally freed and returned home. And in English, there is a difference between prison and jail.
I've never been to prison.
You have
19 felonies, no convictions.
Yeah,
Knock it
yeah,
off. Prison and jail aren't the same.
People who are in jail are probably there for a short period of time. If someone is in prison, they are probably there for years. I will use each of these terms in a sentence, but the sentence they use in the news clip is different. It means the length of time someone is ordered to spend in prison after being found guilty of a crime. Marc Fogel received a 14-year sentence for carrying medical marijuana into Russia. Guess what? Where I live, marijuana is legal. That doesn't mean I can bring it to Russia where it is illegal. The same thing happened to a famous basketball player here in the United States. Her name is Brittany Griner, and she was playing basketball over in Russia, and she too was caught with some marijuana, and she too spent some time in jail. Last weekend in the United States, we had the Super Bowl. It's a football game. Touchdowns are scored in the Super Bowl, but this is a different type of touchdown. Touching down in this way means an aircraft lands on the ground. The plane carrying Marc Fogel touched down in the United States after his release.
An American man held prisoner in Russia for years is now free. Marc Fogel had been serving a 14-year sentence after being arrested in Moscow on drug charges in 2021. He met with President Donald Trump at the White House about 30 minutes ago, shortly after touching down in the U.S. ABC's Jacqueline Lee has the story.
Everybody knows Mark.
American Marc Fogel appearing at the White House tonight, a free man after being detained in Russia since 2021.
Detained. It's almost like arrested, but it's just a little bit different. Usually someone is detained before they are arrested. It just means to hold somebody in custody. In other words, they can't leave. And it's often for legal reasons. Marc Fogel was detained or put in prison by Russian authorities from 2021 to 2025.
Everybody knows Mark.
American Marc Fogel appearing at the White House tonight, a free man after being detained in Russia since 2021.
A real honor. An honor to have you at the White House.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now.
I'm sorry, I need to interrupt for just a second. If you are enjoying this English lesson, do you mind hitting that like button? It just helps other English learners find this lesson. And if this is your first time here, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss another English lesson. One last thing, if you want bonus English lessons, go ahead and become a channel member. It costs a little extra money each month, but there are over 100 English lessons that you can watch. Check out the links in the description and in the comments. Now, let's get back to the English. You might hear a phrase like this: it was an honor to meet you. An honor means a privilege or high respect given to someone. It was an honor for Marc Fogel to meet the president upon his return. But in the newscast, we actually see President Trump saying it was an honor to meet Marc Fogel.
American Marc Fogel appearing at the White House tonight, a free man after being detained in Russia since 2021.
A real honor. An honor to have you at the White House.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now.
The American was arrested at a Moscow airport on drug charges nearly 4 years ago after the Russian government claimed this video shows Fogel's wife disposing evidence.
Claimed. It is a verb and it means to say something as true without providing proof. So you say something is true, but it might or might not be true. Some reports claimed that the release was part of a larger diplomatic deal. Now, the United States did release a prisoner from Russia. Russia released a prisoner from the United States. But as I said earlier in the lesson, this might be the first step in ending the war in Ukraine. In the newscast, they talked about his wife disposing of that medical marijuana. It means to get rid of something, maybe throwing it in the trash. A camera caught his wife disposing of the medical marijuana in a dumpster. A dumpster is just like a very big trash can, like a giant trash can.
An honor to have you at the White House.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now.
The American was arrested at a Moscow airport on drug charges nearly 4 years ago after the Russian government claimed this video shows Fogel's wife disposing evidence. Fogel's family says he was carrying a small amount of medically prescribed marijuana, but Russian officials sentenced him to 14 years in a penal colony for large-scale drug smuggling.
Penal colony. That was an interesting term they used in the newscast. Oftentimes you will hear a prison or a jail, but the official definition is a place far from the city where prisoners are sent to work as punishment. At least as an American, I have heard of Siberia as being a place where there might be a penal colony. It sounds like a horrible place to serve a sentence. Marc Fogel was sentenced to serve time in a Russian penal colony.
Fogel's family says he was carrying a small amount of medically prescribed marijuana, but Russian officials sentenced him to 14 years in a penal colony for large-scale drug smuggling. Marc Fogel's mother, Malphine, has been begging for his release for years, and then this week she got the call of a lifetime. She spoke to ABC's Lindsay Davis.
His buongiorno, that was always his greeting, and I said, "Who is this?" Because that's not one of you. And he said, "Well, who else says buongiorno to you?"
We have another verb here, begging. That picture might help you understand the definition. It means to ask someone earnestly, like very truthfully or desperately for something. Pleading is a good synonym. His family was begging the government to negotiate his release. Buongiorno. His mother said that Mark said buongiorno on the phone. Buongiorno is not English. It is an Italian word meaning good morning. Upon his release, Mark greeted his mom with a cheerful buongiorno. In that last example sentence, I used greeting. They also use it in the news clip. It means a polite word or sign of welcome. Mark received a warm greeting from his family and friends. I would like to know, though, the newscast doesn't say anything about this. I wonder if Marc Fogel was mad at his wife. She got caught on camera throwing away that medical marijuana. I don't think the newscast ever mentions his wife, right? Maybe I will do some more research and find out if they are still together, or did one of them get mad at the other one? Okay, I don't want to start any rumors. I didn't have to research much. I just asked ChatGPT, are Marc Fogel and his wife still together? I did find out, yes, they are still together. His wife is Jane, and they have 2 sons. They've taught in various countries like Colombia, Malaysia, Oman, Venezuela, and Russia. I guess both he and his wife are teachers.
And he said, well, who else says buongiorno to you? But it just was such a shocker, and such a beautiful shocker.
Malfine thanking President Trump, who she said was instrumental in her son's return.
It seems to be in fairly good spirits, and we just need to get him home and hug him and hold him and just find out everything that's been going on within his life.
They talked about something being a shocker. Let's talk about what that is. Something surprising or unexpected. Yeah, his mom getting a phone call was a shocker to her. She didn't expect her son to be calling and saying buongiorno. It was a shocker to many when news broke of his sudden release. If something happens suddenly, it happens without warning, like you didn't know it was going to happen. It was a shocker. Instrumental. You may have heard of a musical instrument that is something you can make music with, like maybe a saxophone or a set of drums. Those are instruments. But if something is instrumental, it's something very different. It means something very important in helping to achieve a goal. It seems like President Trump was a big factor in getting Marc Fogel released. He had been in prison for over 3 years. President Biden was president for most of that time. It looks like President Trump was a big help, or he was very instrumental. Let's get a sentence using instrumental. President Trump was instrumental in securing Marc Fogel's freedom. Like we said earlier, Marc Fogel is now free. We could also say Marc Fogel now has his freedom. Freedom is the noun, the adjective is free. And it seems like Marc Fogel was in good spirits when he arrived in the United States. That means feeling happy and positive. Despite the long time away from his family, Mark appeared to be in good spirits upon his return.
The White House saying Fogel was freed as part of an exchange with Russia. Earlier today, President Trump not answering what the U.S. gave the Russians.
Not much. No, they were very nice. We were treated very nicely by Russia, actually. I hope that's the beginning of a relationship where we can end that war.
Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The United States and Russia exchanged prisoners. Let's talk about what that means. An exchange is the act of giving one thing and receiving another in return. For example, in just a couple days, I will be flying to France. I will have to exchange my American dollars for French francs. Oh, wait, no. It's 2025. France has been using the euro for a long time. I will have to exchange my dollars for euros. A prisoner exchange is when exchange is being used as a noun, but it can also be a verb. I am going to exchange my dollars for euros. But in the sentence, it is used as a noun. Marc Fogel's release was part of a prisoner exchange between the US and Russia. Congratulations, you made it to the end of another English lesson. Great job. And also a huge shout out to Maria. She leaves lots of great comments. It looks like she's left over 100 comments on English lessons. Thanks so much, Maria. And once again, thank you for clicking on this video. If you want another English lesson right now in the United States, we are having trouble with bird flu. If you live in the United States and you like to have eggs with your breakfast, it probably just got more expensive. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.